Welcome, everyone, to Inside the Cockpit, streaming here on Queen City News Plus. I'm your host, May K. Beeler. I'm also the Chief Transportation Correspondent here at Queen City News and the pilot of 40 years and counting. Flying is my passion. And today, we have a special guest who takes his passion for flying to a whole new level. Now, if you like aviation, obviously you do, you're here. And if you love animals, you are in for a special treat because this gentleman's story is going to pull at your heartstrings. It may emit a tear or two, and for sure it's going to make you go, ah, okay, you'll see what I mean in just a minute. So we want to welcome Paul Stiklinski. Paul, welcome. You are the founder of just an incredible nonprofit. It's your 10th anniversary, celebrating the incorporation. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So the nonprofit is called Flying Fur Animal Rescue.
Yes.
So tell us how this started. I know it's your passion project.
It is.
How did this come to be?
So it all started probably around 2012, 2013-ish. There was this weird combination of me changing jobs for a while, going to a place that was closer than a long commute I had, which took me past a small airport. And I'd always been fascinated with flying since I was a kid. Flight simulators, all that jazz. Couldn't do it very well because I didn't know what I was doing. And then a combination of my mother giving me my uncle's logbook from when he was a pilot back in the 30s and 40s. So I started taking lessons, ended up going back to the other job and just moving to another airport for the lessons. But in the process of becoming a pilot, if you're not going to be a career pilot, you're not really thinking about the end game. You just want to keep going to see if you can do it. To me, it was a personal challenge to see, can I even do this? Do I have the internal guts, the capability to do this? So you get to the final point where you're about to take your check ride and you get everything done and you're like, what am I going to do with this newfound skill? And I just couldn't fly around for the sake of flying. I needed to have a purpose. So I found Pilots and Paws, and I realized I could help transport animals. At the same time, as I was learning how to fly, I had also adopted a puppy named Tessa, who's truly the founder of the organization. And in the process of adoption, getting her from a shelter, sort of a rescue retail store that also adopted out animals, I realized that, they said, oh yeah, she came up in the back of a van from Tennessee. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I had no idea. And I think a lot of people don't know, you go to a pet store or something, if you're not into animal rescue, you just have no idea. So you find this out and you're like, what are you talking about? And then you find out that there's people out there transporting animals via planes and ground to get them out of, kill shelters to no kill shelters. So I thought, now that I have this newfound ability, I'll start volunteering to do that. So I started renting airplanes from my FBO, and they were fantastic. I give them so much credit for the beginning of Flying Fur even be able to happen, because they let me use their airplanes to do this. Even though, obviously I'm renting them, paying for them. And I was checked out about 4 different aircraft, from a 152 up to a Piper Arrow. Not that you could do much for the 152, but you could still do something. And it just went from there. And I was spending about 10 grand of my own money a year renting aircraft to do it. And once understanding, what Tessa's story and where she came from, and just wanting to be that difference, I thought, for the cost at the time of going out to dinner or maybe buying a new pair of sneakers, I could rent and fly an airplane for an hour to help get an animal from one point to another. Though as I started to do it more and more, I realized that as much as I liked working through their website, this was the only reason I really am going to fly. I have no other interest in doing anything else for the most part. So then I decided to found Flying Fur, dedicated just to this purpose, being able to cover greater distances and move more animals in one time than just, maybe moving one dog across, 5 different people or something like that.
Paul, when I was reading about you, in a quote, you said, I did not choose this path.
Yes.
It was chosen for me. 100%. I am simply doing what I believe I was called to do while on this earth. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. As it started to unfold, I realized that, this is my passion. And as I needed things and resources, the universe, God, would just put it in front of me, and it would just unfold. And I just had to keep going down the same path. And I still feel that way today. I did not actively choose this. Everything was laid out before me to lead me to where I am now. I love to say, as long as I have a pulse and a paycheck, I'll continue to do this. It does get expensive at times. It does get difficult. I'm pretty good at what I do with the nonprofit. I'm terrible about asking people for money. So there's some things I need to work on. And I would love to transition to doing this full time. And I'm hoping I can do that, sometime in the near future to have a bigger impact.
Paul,
And
tell
so,
me about the logistics of flying with these precious pets. Are they in crates? I see some are looking out the window, they're on your lap. What is that like?
yeah. So in my particular aircraft that we have, the dedicated one, the Bonanza originally had a dual yoke, and I switched it over to a single yoke for the simple fear that I would have a dog next to me that might bump flight controls or do something like that safety wise. So I mean, it's wild. 99% of the animals are crated. However, for weight and balance reasons, or in order to get one extra animal on board, I will sometimes utilize the passenger seat, put blankets down, make sure they're calm. Sometimes we have restraints that I can use, to click them into a seat belt with a harness. Normally, they're crated in the very early days. I was renting aircraft, so I may not know what aircraft I was going to have right away. I would try to reserve it, and I couldn't fit the size crates into it that I would want. So some of the early days, I did have to just put sheets over the seats and put the animals on the seats, and everybody would get along. And in that video there, that particular aircraft had cloth seats, so I would have to be careful when I got back. If
Sure.
somebody else was going to rent it right after me, and the line guys with one line guy who's actually a great supporter now, but he went from being a line guy to a corporate pilot. Used to get upset and he'd come out and lint roll the seats, but that was funny back then, and he totally gets it. So yeah, it's quite a transition because you need to know all the sizes and weights of the animal so you can appropriate the a size crate. Make sure you can put all these crates into the fuselage, and then of course weight and balance is critical,
Oh,
and all your other aviation components for a safe flight.
how do most of the animals react? I know the pictures we're seeing, the animals seem to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Do any of them get scared? Do they get sick? Do they fall asleep? What is
yeah.
that like?
Normally, it's exactly what you see there. They're just, I mean, that was one of my most recent flights, and they're just completely calm. They'll take a nap. We fly at lower altitudes, so we don't have to worry about oxygen issues, things like that. But yeah, they're very calm. I think the noise and the vibration of everything just kind of has them settle in, and then sort of like when we land, they can kind of tell something's up and they'll perk up a little bit there. But for the most part in flight, I've never had trouble with an animal in that regard, other than, an occasional in the earlier days, an animal maybe being able to get out of a crate and then wander around the cabin, in the back or something. But yeah, it's very surreal. It's very peaceful and very surreal. Probably
Typically,
more well behaved than a lot of airline
oh,
passengers.
there you go. No unruly passengers.
Uh,
Mostly dogs and cats, I assume. Have you had any
yeah,
exotic animals or anything different?
no dogs and cats. I had a request once to help transport a monkey or a chimpanzee. That never came through, and I thought, wow, that would be so cool. I could probably teach them how to fly the airplane during the flight, but for the most part, yeah, because of the size of the aircraft, I'm very much limited on what I can transport. And it really is the mission to help get dogs and cats, predominantly from kill shelters to no kill shelters. And the mission of Flying Fur is to simply provide free transport for these rescues. Some of these rescues are very good at what they do, but they struggle with the transport logistics. And I thought, hey, if I can make a difference there, that could be the difference between life or death for the animal. And that gives me immense satisfaction knowing that I can play a part in this, and it's the same thing. I've spent a small fortune on this since I incorporated it. But the bottom line is I tell people, look, nobody gets out of here alive and you can't take it with you. All that really matters is what you do, while you're here, and to try to make an impact, a positive impact in the world we live in the way that you can.
So, these animals, how many have you saved?
Our current count is, I think I just updated their website. I may have to check, right around 3,900 as pretty much a one man band. And obviously I can't take all the credit for that. It's the rescues and the shelters. I'm the middleman that helps transport them, but I'm pretty proud of that. I can obviously move more on the ground than I can with our current aircraft. But the aircraft is still important in the sense of efficiency. If I'm taking a half a day off of work, I can cover a lot of ground in that aircraft. Down in North Carolina, I might be stopping along the Jersey coast, Long Island, Connecticut, and getting back here in time for dinner. So, transport wise, the aircraft and the ground vehicles use it costs about the same in fuel.
Right,
It's just
right.
the aircraft is more efficient time wise.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about the Beechcraft Bonanza? You and I both love this
Sure.
airplane. I
Yeah.
have flown it many times too, but I haven't had the sacred mission. you
It's
have of transporting the animals. How fast is it? What's it like?
I think it's fantastic. I ironically knew nothing about this aircraft or Beechcraft in general. Most people that are learning how to fly are learning in a Piper product or a Cessna product, and Beechcraft is, quite a step up. It was the owner of the FBO at the time who introduced me, and he said, "Why don't you look at some of the Beechcraft stuff?" He said, "These are really, the some of the nicest aircraft that were built at the time, quality wise, performance." So there was a couple guys on field, and I got to see one, and I think it was a detail. I saw an A36, didn't have A36 money at the time, but I was mesmerized when I saw the big baggage door compared to the Piper Arrow or the
Mm.
Warrior or the Archers that I was flying. I was like, wow, I'm going to be able to take these seats out because I can through the POH without any
I
special, mechanic intervention and be able to put some really big crates in. I'll never forget when we first got our airplane and I put all the crates in it that I would normally put in the Arrow, and it only consumed about, a third of the space, and it just blew me away. But the Bonanza, I didn't know any of this stuff about them. And Beechcraft products, even though our airplane is from 1970, it is fast. It is very capable for this particular mission. There's a lot of times I'm making multiple stops and going into smaller strips. It's just fantastic. I'm not a huge aviation guy, even though I use it for the animal rescue. But I can now look back and say, wow, how blessed was I to have this aircraft? Everything worked out to get it, and maintenance wise and everything, it needed some upgrades and upkeep, but it's just a phenomenal. The VTail line, to me, it's fast. It's everything. It's heavy duty. I mean, I don't know. I can't say enough about it. It's for an aircraft from 1970. It's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. And I can't help but notice the dog laying down.
That's
I
Kayla,
do.
one of my rescues. She actually came from North Carolina, from the rescues I work with.
Oh
So
my
second,
goodness. Oh my goodness.
second
Um,
adoption. And she likes to stay up here in the office with me. And I have a third dog, Sammy, that I was fostering, that I'm in the process of actually adopting now.
what if the dogs could talk, the dogs and cats can talk? Do you think they know on some level that you're saving them, that they're going to a new home?
I do. People have often referred to me as a sort of dog whisperer. And I think there's some subliminal vibe or something that I give off to them because they're always at peace. They're happy to see you. I can't quite explain it. It's like you're communicating with them on another level. And I think they just absolutely know that things are getting better. Animals know. I can't explain if you can look at a picture of a dog and how forlorn it looks in a shelter, in a cage. It's almost like it knows it's on death row. And as soon as it gets out of there, there's just this change. And it's like they know. I just don't know how they know. But there's greater forces in the universe, I believe, that uh, communication wise that we can't understand, that they know. They just know. I don't know how else to explain it.
A message to people who've never considered adopting a rescue. I'm a rescue mother too. I'm like you in that aspect. What do you want people to know?
You know, these dogs end up in situations through no fault of their own, and every one of them has their unique story. They have their own unique personality, and they will bring something to your life that you didn't even know was missing. And I think that is the biggest thing to take away from all of this is every dog that I have, personality wise, brings something different to my universe. And you didn't know that maybe that was lacking before you adopted them. So there's people out there that want purebred dogs. I would say if you're open to it, please look into shelters, do your breed research so you can understand that, you know, a big part of the success is making sure you match the dog with the environment or the family that it's going to be adopted into, or maybe foster a dog for a weekend or just visit a shelter and spend some time volunteering just to be around the animals and see the personalities and see what they bring to you. And it's incredible what an animal can bring into your life, whether it's a cat or a dog. There's a companionship and a bond, and um, benefits are just incredible. It's sometimes it's very just hard to put it into words.
Well, this is your heart. This is your
It
passion.
is.
This is your nonprofit. How can people help?
I don't have a lot of volunteering opportunities at the moment. Been I haven't grown this to the extent that I would like to, and that's mainly for financials. Trying to ensure our financial future is extremely important to me. I never want this nonprofit to fail. So I've always been of the mindset that if it couldn't pay its own bills, that I would pay them, and I have.
Mm.
So I've invested a lot of my own money. So donations are always helpful. And I know it can be a tough thing for people. But even small donations, small monthly donations, help because it all adds up at the end, to help us take this to the next level. I would love to have my own little kennel set up here. I'm actually approved for zoning wise. It's a time thing, right? I still have a full-time job in corporate America,
Mm.
and it's very difficult sometimes to balance these two. And I would love to transition into doing this, but then you need to pay yourself something, and then maybe work part-time or something to make up the difference. So the goal is to, really keep this nonprofit going as long as I can, but somehow be able to transition to doing it full-time too. I'm pretty darn good at what I do, but I'm absolutely terrible about asking people for money. So I need to get better at that.
How can people reach out to you?
Our website or social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, flyingfur.org. And our Instagram feed goes to there for people that may not be on social media, so they can get some updates there as well, as to what's happening, and what we're doing. So it's been a pretty long ride. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a big milestone. And I don't necessarily stop and look at what I didn't do or can't do. I'm always trying to figure out how to do something better. I recently put a new ground vehicle in the service this past summer, at a fraction of the cost of what it, would have been to build new. So I'm really proud of that. To retire our old bus and have this new vehicle that's more capable. On the aircraft side, as you fully understand, the aviation side is much more expensive. So I don't have any immediate plans to upgrade the aircraft unless there's a lottery ticket in my future. But yeah, I'm doing, one of my favorite quotes, a tennis player named Arthur Ashe, is start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. And that's the motto I try to follow every day when it comes to managing this and, making sure that I keep things in the bank and balance, what we need to do versus what we have to do it with.
Well, Paul, I think that's a great place to end it. God bless you.
Thank you.
I just
Very
get
much.
emotional thinking about what you do. So thank you for what you do.
Hard sometimes.
Yes, fly safely. Thank you for joining us, Paul, with Flying
Sure.
for Animal Rescue. And we wish you, Paul, blue skies and tailwinds.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, everyone, for watching Inside the Cockpit. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. I'm May K. Bueller with Queen City News Plus. Be sure to download and watch our full series of Queen City News Plus originals on our app. You can find Queen City News Plus using your streaming devices, including Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, and Apple TV. Just search the name, Queen City News Plus. Your support will help us continue our series. We so much appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching.